Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to be learning how to make this simple dress with drawstrings at the front. So if you're interested in this, make sure to watch until the end. Alright, let's get right into the video. For starters, I'm going to be using approximately 2 yards of fabric. At this point I've already put both on fold, but the length is 39 inches long. And yes, as you can see, I put each on fold and I placed one on top of the other. So both pieces will be open on that side, and then we're going to start all our measurements from this other side where the fabrics are both on fold. So the first thing I'm going to do is from that side, I'm going to draw a starting line at the top. You can leave about 0.5 inches above it. I just transferred to pattern paper so that you're able to see what I'm doing easily. So from that center, I'm going to measure 1 inch from that side and I'm going to draw a line. And this is going to stand for our sewing allowance. So at this point, we're going to be starting all our measurements from that new line. So we're going to first measure our neckline, which is 3 inches by 2 inches. That's going to be our back neckline. I'll just draw a curve like that. So from that point, we're going to measure half of our shoulder measurements, which is 7 inches. Then from that point, I'm going to measure 10 inches for our sleeve length, and that includes 1 inch of sewing allowance. Then below that, I'm going to go down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope, and then I'm going to be joining that point all the way to the neckline, just like you see in the video. And then from the shoulder slope, I'm going to measure our sleeve opening, which is going to be at 10 inches, and that includes 0.5 inches of sewing allowance. We shall also be adding 0.5 inches of sewing allowance at the shoulder line. We shall do that later. So we're going to get that same measurement and then take it down and then just mark that and then draw a line just like you see me doing the video. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just elongate that line. And then along that line, I'm going to be measuring a quarter of my hips measurement. If your bust is bigger, use a quarter of your bust measurements. So mine is 10.5 plus 3 inches of ease, and this includes 0.5 inches of sewing allowance. So I'm going to get that very measurement and then take it down, which is a quarter of my hips measurement plus 3 inches. So I'm just going to draw a straight line, just like you see me doing the video. Then along the armhole, we're going to just create a curve like that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get our full length. Mine is 37 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 37 inches. Then I'll add 1 inch of sewing allowance. So I'll just keep on marking that 37 inches and then 1 inch of sewing allowance. So I'll just go ahead and draw my full length line and then my sewing allowance line. I'll just go ahead and mark my 1 inch of sewing allowance at the bottom. So the last thing we're going to do is at the top of the shoulder slope, I had told you we're going to add 0.5 inches of sewing allowance. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just going to go ahead and draw the line. And that's basically it for this part. We're now going to move on to cutting it out on fabric. I'm just going to extend the lines like that. And so I'm just going to go ahead and cut it all around like that to the bottom. At this point, I've already done that on the fabric, so this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to be using this extra piece for the straps. As you can see at this point, I already cut out the straps, but we shall get back to that later. So as you can see, we have 2 separate pieces, and so we're going to just go ahead and mark our wrong sides, just like you see in the video, and then we shall separate the centers just like that. We shall also transfer that 1 inch sewing allowance line on all the fabrics. So we're going to get one of the black and then one of the cream fabric and then place them together right sides facing each other, just like that. This next one I'm holding is going to be for the back, so we shall put it aside and we're going to first work on the front. So we're going to fold in that line, just like you see me doing the video. And after we do that, we're going to then measure our front neckline. As you can see, I'm just pinning it down. And so remember our back neckline was 2 inches. So we shall start at 2 inches and then mark 7 inches at that point. And then we shall join with a straight line up to the upper neckline. And so we're just going to cut that out. And so when you open it up, that's what it's going to look like. And the purpose of that is that when we fold this in, it's aligning with the neckline. It will make sense later. So we're going to move on to sewing. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to hem the bottom, but we're only going to do it halfway. I'm going to explain to you in the next clip. Also, we shall be hemming the two parts separately. So as you can see in the video, I've already finished doing that. I hemmed them separately and I only did it halfway. I didn't hem it fully, as you can see. Yeah, so I just stopped in the middle. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to just sew the 1 inch line all the way up to the bottom. As you can see, I've already finished doing that. So this is what it's looking like on the right side. So I'm going to flip it back to the wrong side. And now we're going to work on the drawstring channels. So we shall just open it up like that and iron it. You can either overlock the raw edges on both sides and just stitch them down at the edge, or you can just slightly fold it in by maybe about 1/4 of an inch and then stitch it down at the edge. And then just do that till you reach the bottom. So as you can see at this point, I've already finished doing that. That's what the wrong side looks like. I hope you can see the channels that I've created. So now I'm just going to cut off that extra part that was caused by the folding. And after we're done with that, the next thing is we're going to be working on our drawstrings. So these are the pieces we're going to use. So the width is going to be 1.5 inches and then the length is going to be 47 inches. So I'm going to be joining these pieces together to make them longer. And after I'm done with joining them together, I'm then going to fold it just like you see in the video. I'll just fold the top like that, then fold in the sides on both sides, and then fold it again like that, and then just stitch it down all the way to the bottom. As you can see, I've already finished with that. The final length for these, like I told you, is 47 inches. So just make sure it's that, or you can make it longer or shorter according to your preference. So we're going to get one of them and then apply a safety pin. And then we're going to just get the cloth, and from the bottom, I'm just going to fix in that string till we reach the top. As you can see at this point, I've now done that for both strings. So we shall just stitch them down at the top. As you can see at this point, I'm already done with that. And now I'm just cutting off that extra. So now you can pull the strings and form the gathers. So moving on to the back, we're going to get both of the pieces for the back, and then we shall be joining them along that line. As you can see, I've already finished doing that. I've joined them by 1 inch of sewing allowance. And when you open it up, I've also opened the seam and pressed it with a flat iron. So make sure to overlock your shoulders and then the sides of the dress, and then also the center along those seams. Just make sure to overlock that. So now we're going to get both the back and the front pieces, and we're going to work on the neckline using the binding method. So I already have videos on that in case you want to know how to do the binding. But yes, I'm just going to go ahead and bind the necklines. As you can see at this point, I've already finished binding the back and then also the front. So now we shall place the front piece like that, and then right sides facing each other, we're going to place the back on top of the front. And so we're going to then join at the shoulders by 0.5 inches of sewing allowance on both sides. As you can see at this point, I've already finished joining it. So we're going to open up the pieces like that. Make sure to iron the seams open with a flat iron, and then we're going to fold in by 1 inch and then stitch the hems on both sides. As you can see at this point, I've already finished hemming the sleeves. Now we're going to place the piece back right sides facing each other, and then we're going to just be joining the sides by 0.5 inches of sewing allowance. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that on both sides. As you can see, I've already finished doing that. The last thing we're going to be doing is we shall be continuing with the hemming process. Remember, we stopped at the front, like halfway of the front, so we shall just be doing that. And that will basically be it. At this point, I've already finished with that, and that's what it's going to look like. So guys, if the video was helpful, make sure to leave a like and a comment, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you like such content. Alright guys, thanks for watching and see you in the next video.